Not long ago, life in Britain looked shockingly different. The streets, the homes, the schools, everything carried a rhythm that now feels almost impossible to imagine. Rules were looser, habits were bolder, and what we now call reckless was once just everyday life. It was a Britain where kids roamed freely, ashtrays sat on every table, and safety was something you learned after getting hurt. Yet for millions, those times weren't dangerous. They were ordinary, even comforting. Looking back now, it's hard to believe how quickly normal life can turn illegal, how the world can change in just one generation. So sit back and step with us into a different Britain, a place both familiar and foreign. This is Britain Rewind, where forgotten history comes alive. Let's count down 16 everyday British habits that would be illegal now. Number 1. Smoking in hospitals. Imagine walking into a hospital where the first thing you notice isn't the smell of disinfectant, but a cloud of cigarette smoke. In the 1950s and 60s, patients smoked in bed, sometimes with IV drips still attached, visitors lit up by their side. Even doctors and nurses puffed away in staff rooms filled with ashtrays. It was all perfectly normal. Only in the 1980s did growing awareness of lung cancer and secondhand smoke begin to change attitudes. Hospitals slowly banned cigarettes. Today, the idea of lighting a cigarette in a hospital feels unthinkable. But for decades, medicine and smoke shared the same air. Number 2. Children without car seats. Picture this: a family car in the 1960s. Kids bouncing around the back seat. No seatbelts, no booster seats, just laughter and chaos. Parents didn't think twice. Car seats were a rarity, and safety rules barely existed. Children leaned out of windows, sat on laps, and even helped steer while their parents drove. But as road accidents rose, public awareness shifted. By the 1980s, laws required children to be properly restrained. Today, driving with a child unbuckled feels reckless, even criminal. Yet for many who grew up back then, those wild, unrestrained car rides are cherished memories of a freer and riskier childhood. Number 3. Corporal punishment in schools. Discipline once came with a sting. British classrooms of the past were ruled by fear, not feedback. Teachers used canes, slippers, or rulers to teach lessons. A wrong answer, talking back, or forgotten homework could earn a public beating. Parents supported it too. Spare the rod, spoil the child wasn't just a saying, it was policy. But the tide turned in the late 20th century. In 1986, corporal punishment was banned in state schools and later in private ones. Today, hitting a child would be abuse. Yet for many adults alive today, that sharp crack of the cane still echoes in memory, the sound of an era gone by. Number 4. Kids buying fireworks. Picture bonfire night in the 1960s. Children crowded into corner shops, clutching coins, and walked out with bags of bangers. Rockets and Roman candles, no parents, no ID, no questions. It was thrilling, dangerous, and completely normal. Every November, accidents spiked. Burnt fingers, singed hair, and scorched gardens became part of the season. Eventually, stricter laws set age limits and regulated sales. Today, a child buying fireworks would make national news, but for generations before, it was a magical childhood ritual. A spark of independence, literally and figuratively, from a time when danger was just part of growing up. Number 5. Kids sent to buy alcohol. It wasn't that long ago when children could stroll into a shop and buy alcohol legally. Parents often sent them with a handwritten note. "Please give my son a bottle of cider." The shopkeeper nodded, took the money, and handed it over. It was seen as harmless, even responsible. A simple family errand. But times changed. Today, a child carrying a bottle of whiskey would likely face police questions, not a pat on the head. Still, for older generations, that memory of proudly running errands for mum or dad, clutching a brown paper bag, is a reminder of how casual life once was. Number 6. Driving without seatbelts. For decades, British drivers hit the road without seatbelts. In fact, before 1983, there was no legal requirement to wear one at all. Many people resisted when they became available, calling them uncomfortable or unnecessary. Some saw it as government overreach. "I'll take my own risks," they said. But as crash statistics mounted, the benefits became undeniable. Today, not wearing a seatbelt feels suicidal. But once, millions of drivers cruised the open road, arm out the window, feeling invincible, unaware that freedom sometimes comes with a fatal cost. Number 7. Cigarette adverts on TV. There was a time when cigarettes weren't just accepted, they were glamorous. Television was filled with suave men in suits and elegant women, all selling the good life with a cigarette in hand. Slogans promised sophistication, confidence, and even health. It was powerful marketing, and it worked. Only in 1965 were cigarette adverts finally banned from British TV. Later, sponsorships and billboards followed. Today, promoting tobacco feels almost criminal. But once upon a time, smoking wasn't a health hazard. It was Hollywood. Number 8. Teenagers drinking wine with meals until recently. It was perfectly legal for 16-year-olds to drink wine or beer in restaurants, as long as it came with a meal. Parents saw it as a lesson in moderation, not rebellion. A glass of wine at Sunday lunch or a pint with fish and chips was normal. It taught responsibility, or so they believed. But gradually, attitudes changed and the laws tightened. Now serving alcohol to minors in public feels scandalous. Yet for families of the past, it was simply part of growing up, a quiet toast to adulthood, long before turning 18. Number 9. Pints at work in mid-century Britain. The pub wasn't just an after-work escape, it was part of the working day. Office workers enjoyed liquid lunches. Dockers and builders sometimes had pints supplied by their employers. It boosted morale, kept spirits high, and was rarely questioned. But by the 1980s, drink driving laws and safety regulations brought the habit to an end. Today, drinking on the job would likely get you fired. Still, for many who lived through it, there was something wonderfully British about raising a pint at lunchtime, a time when work and leisure shared the same glass. Number 10. Hitchhiking, standing by the roadside. Thumb out, hoping for a lift. That was once a common sight. Hitchhiking was adventurous, cheap, and surprisingly safe. Students, workers, even families relied on strangers' kindness to get around. But as crime stories spread and fear of strangers grew, hitchhiking declined. By the 1990s, it was seen as dangerous, even foolish. Today, few would dare try it. Yet, for those who remember, hitchhiking wasn't about risk. It was about trust, freedom, and a kind of human connection that's almost disappeared from modern travel. Number 11. No national speed limit before 1965. Vast stretches of British roads had no national speed limit. Drivers could go as fast as they dared, treating motorways like racetracks. It was thrilling until it wasn't. A series of deadly accidents forced the government to impose a 70 limit. Some called it overregulation. Others saw it as common sense. Over time, it became one of Britain's most accepted laws. Today, the idea of unlimited speed feels reckless. But once, the open road was truly open, a symbol of freedom that ended in the name of safety. Number 12. Asbestos everywhere. Asbestos, once hailed as a miracle material, was everywhere. It lined ceilings, insulated pipes, and even appeared in household goods. Builders handled it bare-handed, unaware of its deadly risks. For decades, it symbolized progress, strong, fireproof, and cheap. Then science revealed the truth. Asbestos fibers caused cancer and lung disease. By the 1980s, it was banned. Today, we treat it like toxic waste. Yet it still lurks in older buildings, a quiet ghost from Britain's industrial age, when safety often came second to innovation. Number 13. Public drinking in parks. On sunny weekends decades ago, British parks turned into open-air pubs. Families brought bottles of cider, teenagers shared beer, and no one cared. Drinking outdoors was a normal part of leisure culture, a picnic staple. But rising antisocial behaviour and littering changed the mood. Local councils began passing bylaws banning alcohol in public spaces. Today, drinking in many parks can earn you a fine. Yet for those who remember it, the sight of families laughing under the sun, bottles clinking beside them, was the sound of freedom, a simpler kind of joy now mostly outlawed. Number 14. Gendered job adverts. Open a newspaper in the 1960s, and you'd find two columns: jobs for men and jobs for women. Men were steered toward trade and management. Women were offered secretarial, cleaning, or shop roles. It was blatant sexism, but nobody questioned it. That changed with the Sex Discrimination Act of 1975, which made gendered adverts illegal. Today, it's shocking to imagine how openly biased the job market once was. But for many women of that time, it wasn't injustice, it was simply the way things were. Number 15. Dogs roaming freely. It was once normal to see dogs wandering the streets alone. Some were strays, others were beloved pets given the freedom to roam. They visited neighbors, played with kids, and returned home by dinner. It was charming, but also chaotic. Accidents, bites, and diseases eventually led to stricter leash and registration laws. Today, an unleashed dog on the street would raise alarms. Yet, for many, those roaming dogs symbolized a gentler Britain, where trust stretched even to our four-legged friends. Number 16. Corporal punishment in the army. Physical punishment didn't just exist in schools, it persisted in the British military well into modern times. Although public flogging ended earlier, laws still allowed certain physical penalties for discipline. It wasn't until changing views on human rights and leadership redefined military conduct that such practices disappeared. Today, the idea of a soldier being beaten for punishment is unthinkable. But for decades, the Army's motto was simple: obedience through pain. A relic of a harsher, hierarchical Britain that finally learned strength doesn't need violence. Looking back, it's astonishing how much can change in a single lifetime. What once felt safe, normal, even sensible, now seems shocking, sometimes barbaric. These stories aren't just about rules. They're about how societies grow. Every law reflects a lesson learned, sometimes through tragedy, sometimes through progress. Britain's past wasn't perfect, but it was human, messy, brave, and constantly evolving. And that's what makes looking back so fascinating. Because in another 50 years, people might look at our daily habits, our screens, our diets, our routines, and say, can you believe they used to do that? Which of these old British habits surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Britain Rewind for more forgotten pieces of UK history brought vividly back to life.